Hello, my name's Ajay and you're watching The Defining Moment for Creating the Culture of Conscience. Today we're very happy to be joined by Joy Philippou. Joy is British, however she's of Russian and Spanish origin. She's a doctor of psychology and of philosophy. She is also the author of 16 books, including Evolution of the Species, Through Reincarnation, Cosmic Connections, and All You Need to Know About Angels. For the last 21 years, she's also been the president of Body, Mind and Soul International. Joy, thank you very much for joining us on The Defining Moment.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, today's topic is about the mystic core of all religions. However, before we get into that topic, can you please share with us a defining moment from your life?
Well, I was in my 30s when I got my defining moment, and it came after several losses. I'd lost my father, I'd lost my mother, I'd lost my husband, I'd lost my child. And I began to think that life wasn't really worth living, and I wasn't sure whether God existed or not. And I really wanted to find him, but didn't know how, although I had been brought up in convents and brought up with the spiritual background and all that. After reading a philosophy book too early on, I sort of was persuaded that God maybe didn't exist. And it wasn't a very happy experience to go through. So I decided that I'd give God an ultimatum, and I looked up one day on a New Year's Day, and I said to him, look, if you want me to believe in you, you really must help me to find you in a very convincing manner. And so I thought the best thing would be to start from scratch, searching for God. And I enrolled, that's why the philosophy study came in, I enrolled with London University to see what I could get out of it, whether through philosophy I could get to the truth. And that's exactly what happened. I said to God that by the end of the year, if I don't find you, well, I'm just not going to bother staying in the world. I really didn't think life was worth living. But then he did answer my prayer eventually, and I did, after a long process of meandering into different books and religions and all that, I finally found him in a very convincing manner. And it all came to a head when I went to India. Because after I'd taken my philosophy degree, I still found that there were a lot of questions that were unanswerable in Western philosophy. So I went to the East to see if they could give me the answers. And in India, I went 3 times, as I said. There, I got all the answers that Western philosophy could not give me. And so now I'm happy. That was the defining moment.
Well, thank you very much, Joy, for sharing that, and we look forward to finding out more about those experiences later. Well, as I mentioned, today's topic is about the mystic core of all religions, and all religions are about God and the journey to discover God. Can you tell us, in your opinion, what is the nature of God?
Well, you're not asking for little, are you? The nature of God. If you could tell me what the nature of love is, you see, it's something you have to experience. It's not something you can talk about. Even if I asked you about the nature of an onion, supposing I have never tasted or smelt an onion in my life, and you want me to know what an onion smells and tastes like, could you actually now try and tell me what an onion smells like? Or tastes like?
It would be very difficult because you'd have to compare it to something, and it's almost
And even if I
incomparable.
compared it to something, if you said it's like a strawberry, for example, even if you compared it to something, would that convey to me the nature of how an onion smells?
No.
Or tastes? Now, if you really want me to know what a strawberry or an onion tastes like and smells like, you can't do it in words. You can talk until the cows come home. You would never convey to me the scent of an onion or the taste of an onion. What you would do is get an onion, cut it in half and put it under my nose, and then I'd know, without words, what an onion, through experience. Now that's the nature of God. The nature of love is the same sort of thing. You can't talk about it. You can't explain to a person what love is unless they've actually experienced it. And so religion tells us a little bit about how we should live our lives, how to get the best out of life, to discover what is good, what is not so good. It will take us up to a certain point, but it cannot. All the books that have ever been written about religion and all the sacred books can only talk around about God. They cannot convey to us the nature of God and what God. We've got to use our intelligence by looking at the world around us. I mean, it's so mind-boggling when you really stop to think, how did all this come about? Who are we? What are we? What is all this about? Then you start thinking, and then you experience things that are pleasant, things that are unpleasant, things that are good, things that are not good. And through our journey, life journey through the world, we begin to extract what is good, what is evil, what is lacking, what is this, what is that, what is desirable, what is non-desirable, and then we make up a sort of a belief system that tries to explain the unexplainable. You see, it's very difficult to talk about the nature of God. Religion will take you up to a certain point. After that, it's your experience. I mean, if you listen to a piece if you listen to a Bach cantata, can you explain what you're feeling? It transports you into a higher realm, and you experience something that you got not through words. Yeah?
Well, Joy, I know you've travelled extensively, and you also speak many languages, 10 in fact. Can you tell us about your own exploration of the world's religions?
Well, you know, when you take a philosophy degree, especially if you're going to carry on to the doctorate, you've got several subjects you can choose from. 6 of them are obligatory, and 6 of them are not. And the religion and the study of the different religions was one of the obligatory subjects, and I started out looking for God anyway, so I wanted to explore the religions, which means that you studied every single world at depth. And so that was the exploration, and I found, to my surprise, that they were all more or less saying the same thing.
You wasn't expecting them to be
saying
the same thing?
No, I wasn't expecting them to be the same, no, because I mean I was brought up, only the Christian religion counts and nothing else. Everybody else is a heretic. None of them, they're all barred from heaven. Only if you're a Christian, baptized, you're going to get into heaven. That sort of attitude. And I wasn't interested in anything else. I was very happy to be a Christian. But as I say, when I started the philosophy degree, I found I had to. And became more and more and more interested. And of course it's a fascinating subject, isn't it? Especially if you're that way inclined, to start with anyway. Yes, and I found that God was in all of them. And the moral aspect, of course, is the same. Thou shalt not steal. All religion, there's no religion that says you've got to steal. It's all right if you steal, it's all right if you kill, it's all right. They don't. They're all saying the same thing, more or less.
And you mentioned earlier you went to the East because you wanted to find something more, something you felt was missing in the West. Now, what was that? Well,
what was missing in the West? First of all, it was too intellectual. Too many words, and all based on reason. And there are things that we cannot understand through reason. We've got to jump, do the leap of faith into the world of feelings and emotions and things that are beyond reason. Truth actually lies beyond reasoning. Because we're limited humans, we think that by talking around a subject and through the subject and over again and analysing and dissecting, we're going to get to the truth, but it's not so. Sometimes truth is just a revelation from the inner, you know? And that's what was missing in all world religions. What the soul wants more than anything is union with its beloved God. You know, the journey, the spiritual journey is a love affair between God and the human soul. And as much as God craves for our love, the soul also cannot live without the love of God. And the whole of life is such a struggle until we achieve that union. And that's what was missing from every religion. It told us how to get there, but it didn't actually give us the experience. And that's what I call the mystic core of every religion. That's what was missing in the teaching of it.
So let's get on to the mystic core. Obviously today's topic
Yes.
is the mystic core of all religions.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us more about that.
A core is the central point, is the heart of the matter, isn't it? In Latin, core is heart. The best way I can explain this is concentric circles. It's quite easy to demonstrate that there can be one central point for several different circles. The small one, bigger one, bigger one, bigger one, and the center point is exactly the same center for all of them. We can say that the mystic core is the concentric point, is the central point of absolutely all religions. They're all teaching that we need to unite ourselves to God. But they do it through religion and through the law and through rules and regulations. But that doesn't really get you there. If I say to you, thou must love me, it doesn't matter if I punish you or reward you, if it doesn't come from inside, that's not going to make you love me, is it? So, the mystic core of each religion, you can see that. You can see that each religion has a mystic core, because let's take each religion on its own. There's the mystic core of the Christian religion. They're the ones that say their rosary over and over and over and over and over again.
What do they say when they do the rosary?
Well, it depends what sect you are. I mean, if you're Catholic, you'll say Ave Maria, Gratia Plena, Dominus, etc., the rosary. If you're Orthodox, you say Lord have mercy. You say it in whatever language you can say. If you're Greek Orthodox, you say Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison. It means Lord have mercy. If you're Russian Orthodox, you say Gospodi pomiluj, Gospodi pomiluj, Gospodi pomiluj. And they're using the beads. The repetition is the repetitive process. I'll explain that on another occasion, or if you want, I can do that later on. But there is a technique which actually gives you the inner experience. It joins conscious mind and subconscious. We all know that we're made of conscious and subconscious. And we're most of us, those who do not meditate, for example, cannot reach the mystic core. They cannot achieve that union. Muslims, there are the Sufis, and they're the ones that you see with prayer beads. Allahu Akbar, or La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. It's interesting, they've all got beads, because the beads help you to keep remembering to say it, because if you haven't got the beads, you see sort of something catches your attention and you forget to keep with the repetition. They all got the beads to help them remember the name of God. They're all they're all repeating the names of God. That's what they're doing with these beads. They may say it in different languages, but it's always the name of God, the repetitive process. Then you've got the Kabbalists. They are the mystic core of Judaism. The Hindus, Hinduism is nothing but pure meditation. That's why when the Maharishi comes over and the Swami this and Swami that, it's pure meditation. They don't even need a mystic core. They are, they are the mystic core. The whole of Hinduism is pure mysticism. It isn't divided like the rest of us. It isn't divided into religion and then the mystic core. The whole thing is built on getting the soul to unite with God. They're the ones that give you the real experience, and that's why they're so popular when they come over here. But yes, you can achieve union with God no matter what religion you are, as long as you practice the means of getting there, not just talking about religion all the time. Actually being a mystic, become a mystic.
And is that somehow related to your conclusions of what is the purpose of life?
Well, yes. What are we here for? What are we here for? Just to eat, drink, have a good time, and then die and get buried? What's the point? I mean, it just doesn't stand. It doesn't hold water to think that we're just here for a few years, 70 if we're lucky, 100 if we're lucky or unlucky, as the case may be. It just doesn't make sense, you know. The aim of life is for the soul to unite with God, and we obviously can't do it in one lifetime, because we're so imperfect anyway, and we're so ensconced in the love of the material world and the world of the flesh that it's very difficult to achieve this union with God. And so, like, I don't know how many people can accept this, but most religions actually accept the fact that reincarnation is the path to the eventual union with God. It can't all be done in one lifetime. And if you consider that each lifetime is a classroom in the university of life, we every time we die, we have a little break, we go back to heaven and God and all that, and then we come back again in another body, in another situation, and pick up where we left off. Now, when you go back to class, when you go back to college, you don't go back to the same year and keep repeating it. You learn and you retain what you've learned in the 1 year. You have a little break, summer holidays, and then you go back into the next class and you pick up where you left off. And each time, eventually, you've finished the work, and you've shed all your ego and all the evils that belong to ego. By evil is anything that keeps you away from God.
Well, that's a very revolutionary concept coming from a Christian, or at least someone with a Christian background.
I don't think it's revolutionary, because Christ himself actually talked about reincarnation, and the church before the schism between the Catholics and the Orthodox up to about the year 500 taught meditation as a Christian topic. It was a Christian dogma.
So early Christianity practiced
500 years. In the year 500, they abolished it because it was so full of questions and inexplicable. The clergy thought, well, it's too difficult, and at the the synod meeting in that they decided, let's scrap reincarnation. It's too difficult to explain, and from then on they didn't. But Christ himself actually taught about reincarnation. For example, one day he said to his disciples, who do people say I am? And they said, well, some of them say you're this prophet, some of them say you're that prophet, and some of them say that you're Elijah, come back. And he said, no, I'm not Elijah, come back. Because Elijah did come back, but they didn't recognize him. They killed him.
John the Baptist.
And it also said, now you came to the conclusion that it was John the Baptist, but there it tells you in black and white in the New Testament, and the disciples understood that he was talking about John the Baptist. Is that not dealing with reincarnation, to say that Elijah came back into the body of John the Baptist? You see, Christ talked about it. And there are other places, in the Old Testament and in the New Testament. So it's not really a revolutionary concept at all. Without it, nothing is... Look, nothing... I'll tell you why it's so important to believe in reincarnation. Because it does not make sense to me that God the Father is such a... they tell us that he's a merciful Father. Now, if he's a merciful Father, it doesn't make sense for you to tell me that because of some stupid little human error on my part, or my human weakness, God, my loving, compassionate Father, is going to put me to roast in hell forever and ever and ever and ever and ever without any forgiveness. That just does not make sense. But if you tell me that in this lifetime I have to learn and try and be a better person, and I haven't quite made it, that he's going to give me, after a little rest, he's going to give me another chance. And everything we learn is still there all the time. It's embedded in the soul. All our experiences make us a better person. Progress goes up spirally. We never go. It's not regressive. Progress is progressive. So it doesn't matter what experience we've had. It helps us to be a better person. You can look at your own life. Each person can look at their own lives and see. You're no longer the same person that you were when you were a child. Maybe as a boy, you liked pulling the wings off flies. As a first older person, adult, who's come to reason, you wouldn't want to do that because you understand life differently. Well, we just evolve through meditation. That makes it much, much more acceptable to me. That yes, we have to go through this life and learn and suffer and become, work towards our perfection, because we cannot achieve the union with God if we are imperfect.
So
that's the point of reincarnation.
So for you, the purpose of life is intrinsically connected to reincarnation. So in other words, one lifetime is not enough.
It's not enough, but it depends how much effort you put into it. It might be enough. If you decide from now on, all I want is to achieve union with God, I'd better perfect myself, you could achieve it in this lifetime. But you see, Christ told us a story about the purpose of life. He called it the return of the prodigal son. You see? He took his father's wealth and went and explored the world, and then when the wealth had gone, he found himself looking after pigs, and he decided he'd go back to his father and ask for forgiveness. And he gave us that story to tell us that at one time we were in paradise. When we lost paradise, it wasn't because we ate an apple. Mind you, it never says an apple in the Old Testament, in the story of Adam and Eve. But we went out into the material world. We thought it was so beautiful, we forgot our way back to God. And this is what we have to do. It's the return journey of the prodigal son. We lost paradise, we lost connection. We used to walk and talk with God at one time. We don't anymore because we're so ensconced in the flesh, we're imprisoned in a fleshy body.
And you mentioned the Garden of Eden, the apple. So what was the downfall? What was the origin of evil?
They ate of the tree, not of apples or figs or pomegranates, but of the knowledge of good and evil. So it was a mental aberration. We went into the material world. You see, we want good. Oh, this is good, this is evil. This is, they didn't know they were naked until they suddenly thought it was evil, and it became evil. It's an aberration of thought. That we have to get back to God. That's the only thing. And we did it by disobedience, going into the material world, eating of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. We acknowledged the existence of evil, which it didn't exist before. You see, so you could write books and books about this. We can't really discuss this in one hour, can we?
Well, let's go back to
but reincarnation is the way. It gives you the way back. Gives you the opportunity to do it either in one lifetime or two or three. But do not tell me that a merciful God is going to send you into hell forever.
Well, let's go back to the mystic core. What was the, or is there a common thread to all these mystic cores?
Well, the word mystic describes somebody who is so in love with God that all he or she wants is to unite with the beloved. That's a mystic. Now, in order to achieve that, you can be a Muslim, but without the repetition of the name of God, that practice of repeating the name of God and being God conscious all the time, seeing God in everything. You see a flower, it makes you think of God. Oh, the Creator. You see a sunset, it makes you think of God. You become God conscious. When you become completely God conscious, not occasionally after you've had a few drinks or a party all night and then suddenly, or if you're faced with death, you suddenly remember God. If you become God conscious, everything is just saturated with it. You're sort of actually living in heaven already before you die. That is the core. That is the common thread in every mystic. That's what every mystic practice offers you: union with God the beloved.
Achieved through the chanting.
Through, not just chanting and meditating, but of course there's no use chanting and meditating all day long and then going and robbing my neighbour. I mean, if you love someone, if you love your father and you know that something is going to displease him, you won't do it. Not because you're afraid of him, but you don't want to displease him. You want him to be happy. And so we obey him, not because of fear of punishment, but because we're so in love that we don't want to, we want to make him happy. We want to be at one.
Well, nowadays, meditation is becoming more and more popular, and I was wondering, what is actually the role of meditation, and how easy is it to practice it?
Well, to answer your second question first, it's very easy. A child of 10 can learn it in 2 minutes. The actual technique is very easy. The role of meditation is to bring conscious and subconscious mind together. Because otherwise you're living on a we're all schizophrenics. Anybody who isn't practicing meditation is living on a schizophrenic level. That is to say, a divided mind. Conscious mind wants an umbrella. The subconscious mind says, I don't want this umbrella. And you forget. So you go out without it. There's a dichotomy. We're not integrated. And what meditation does, it brings conscious and subconscious mind together, and when the two become one, you're no longer either in the conscious realm or in the subconscious realm. You're into the superconscious. You become a superconscious person, and that opens up a whole new realm of existence that you cannot even describe. It's like a frog who is amphibian. He can be in the water and he can be out of the water. And when he tries to go back to the fishes and tell them what the world outside the water is, they wouldn't be able to understand. He couldn't find the language. They couldn't, in their wildest dreams, imagine what it's like to live outside the water. Well, when you enter into super consciousness, it's a completely different experience. You're in a completely different realm. Your thinking is different. Even your physical experience of the body is different. Things taste differently. The colors look different. Everything, it's just another state of it. You're actually 1 foot in heaven, even while you're still in the body.
And is there
or hell, because can I
yes,
go
please
on telling
do.
you? Because if you've got any hatred or anger or jealousy, any of the four negativities that belong to the mind, if you've got any one of those and you enter into superconsciousness, it's a hell trip. And it's the same with drugs. People who take drugs, if they're in a state of love
Ecstasy.
and happiness, then they have a heaven trip. And if they're angry and jealous and got one of the negativities in their life...
What are the negativities?
The 4 negativities. Fear, anger, envy and hatred. And they don't belong to the soul, they only belong to the mind. That's why we've got to get out of the realm of thought. You see?
Well, I'm afraid we're running out of time, Joy, but if we wanted to find out more about these topics, the mystic core, also the evolution of the species through reincarnation, what can we do? You
can log on to Lulu Publications, www.lulupublications/Joy Philippou books. And there's a paragraph about each book as it comes up, explaining what the book is about.
Well, Joy, you obviously have a lot more to share, and we thank you very much for coming to join us on The Defining Moment today. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it immensely. Thank you.
Well, you've been watching The Defining Moment for creating the culture of conscience. If you'd like to find out more, we're on the web at www.definingmoment.eu. Thank you very much, and we wish you all the best.